Hello everybody, Joel here from Golf Monthly. I hope you're well. Welcome along to a very sunny Burley Park Golf Club here in Stamford for what I think is a video review of the most underrated driver in 2019. I'm sure you're all desperate to know what it is. I've got it here in my hands. It is the Wilson Staff D7. Now, why do I think this is the most underrated driver in 2019? Well, we'll come on to the performance in a second, but I just want to talk about what Wilson have done with this driver. Remember, it comes in at £269, so it's almost half the price of a lot of the premium models out there, from your TaylorMades, Callaways, Titleists, things like that. So there's a lot of money to be saved here. Obviously, a lot of golfers at that price point would possibly look for older models from those reputable brands, but I want to potentially try and convince you to go for a model like this. Now, you might think it's a game improvement driver, this is not for me, this is not the kind of model I want to play. But Wilson have done some clever things with the design of this driver. It's got a carbon fibre crown, so that's saving weight. It's 10 grams lighter than previous crowns, makes the head a bit more user-friendly, a bit more forgiving. And Wilson have implemented some progressive weighting in this head called dynamic launch control. So it comes in 3 lofts, 9, 10.5 and 13.5. And the weighting moves back and more heelward as the loft increases. So it's forward and centered in the 9 degree for the faster swingers to get a lower, more penetrating flight. Then it moves back and heelward to give slightly slower swing speed golfers a bit more launch and a bit more draw bias, and that is accentuated even more in the 13.5 degrees. So it's a clever design. And the other thing Wilson have done, you'll notice, is that this is not an adjustable driver. You can see it's got a fixed hosel here. There's a couple of reasons for that. Wilson found that actually the majority of golfers don't adjust their driver when they bought it. Obviously, if you've been custom fitted, there's no reason for you to adjust your driver. Secondly, it provides some weight savings, so it allows Wilson to put weight in more beneficial places within the head. And the third reason, sorry I forgot the third reason, was actually keeps the cost down. So £269 is very, very reasonable in the world of soaring driver prices. So look, I was not expecting a great deal from this driver, right? When I tested it, it only comes in a few different lofts. It only comes in your standard stiff shaft, no extra stiff shaft available. I tested the 9 degree in the standard stiff. It's 59 grams. So I was expecting it to fly high, spin too much, but the performance really did surprise me. And actually, before we get on to the performance, the looks of the driver is pretty good. You know, this is a really nice looking driver. It's very traditional in shape, not the easiest to align, pretty rounded. You can see the carbon fibre effect there on the crown. It's a very inviting driver to hit at address. But let's talk about the performance we got on the GC Quad launch monitor when we tested this indoors. We also tested it on the course as well. We'll come on to that as well in a second. But let's touch on those numbers to see what performance we got from it. Okay, so I've got the phone here with all the relevant launch monitor data, and like I said, wasn't expecting a lot because of that light feel. Was expecting to lose control of the club face and not really know where it was and spray it all over the place with that softer shaft that I'm normally used to playing. But we'll take a look at the numbers here actually. You see an average ball speed of 157.2, which is very good. Normally, you know, with modern drivers, I'm around the 160 mark, so that's still pretty impressive. Don't forget, this is with the old Pro V1X golf ball, so not seeing those gains that I got with the ping driver when I tested with the new Pro V1X. An average club speed of 110 miles an hour. That's about average, actually. Normally where I am, about 110 miles an hour. You can see the ball speed actually topped out at 160.6 of my fastest shot, and that is comparable with a lot of premium drivers, actually. It launched at 16.4 degrees, which is a little bit on the high side. I'm normally around 15 degrees with driver, and the spin at 2362 is also a little bit high. It's kind of to be expected with the softer shaft there, and I normally, you know, when I'm testing, I do an 8 degree loft, and this was 9, so it's expected to spin a little bit high. I'm normally around 2000. And a peak height of 45 yards is again a touch on the high side. Normally I'm around 40 yards with driver. But the average carry distance of 275 yards is very competitive actually. And when you consider I actually had a couple of shots that went out there at 285. So when I strike this out the middle, when I put a good swing on it, this driver does deliver. You know, I'm normally around 280, 285 on average with premium drivers, so this has the potential to match those on good hits. So there's the numbers for you. And the other thing I really like about this driver is the feel of it. It feels incredibly powerful out of the middle. I was so surprised at how great this driver feels out of the centre. You know, forgiveness-wise, it's probably not the most forgiving. There's probably more forgiving drivers out there, and obviously you don't have any adjustability on the sole to line weights up behind you miss hit, or where you strike the face, or turn your draw into a straight shot and, you know, adjust the movable weights. There's no options to do that. But when I put this in play on the course, I was really impressed with how easy it was to hit high draws with this driver. I mean, you can basically just aim down the right side of the fairway, hit it as hard as you can, and it just hit high draws for fun. I was really impressed with what this driver offered. And I was even expecting the fact that the shaft is light and a bit longer as well, 45.75 inches. You know, I was expecting to hit it all over the place, to be honest, reduce control from that extra length, but it really wasn't the case. I actually found it gave me a bit more extra clubhead speed, and that did translate into distance without necessarily losing accuracy. Look, like I said, it's not the most forgiving driver I've ever tested, but hit it out in the middle, you'll really enjoy the feel. It's really hot and explosive out of the middle. And look, driver prices are going up and up, right? This one comes in at £269, so you can't really argue with the fact that there is a lot of value to be had here with this D7 driver. But maybe it comes down to a bit of ego thing. You know, I'd love to hear from you. Comment on the video. Is Wilson a brand you would consider when buying a new driver? Obviously they had the Cortex driver, which was pretty good as well. I think they're really making waves in the driver market, and they're bringing out some really good products, and the D7 is a really good example of that. This can perform. You know, the spec options are fairly limited when it comes to shaft and loft and things like that, but get the right flex and loft for your swing, and it has the potential to perform for you, and you can save a few pounds as well. Guys, thanks for watching. Click the like button if you liked it. Of course, comment on the video as well. I'd love to know your thoughts on this driver. Is it something that you would consider? But for now, from Burley Park Golf Club here in Stamford, it's goodbye.